let's see what happens with lockdown. We've got an amazing, inspiring lady with us today. So we've got Jenni Bush. Hi, Jenni.
Hello.
Another Jenni. I seem to be getting lots of Jennies on my Q&As. We're taking over the world. That's what it is, Jenni. So Jenni runs, let me get this right, the Equestrian Business Assistant. That's what your business is called.
Equine Business Assistant, yeah.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, Jenni Bush, but you can find me under Jenni Bush as well.
Cool. And I wanted to get Jenni on because I've followed her over the years, looking at what she's been up to and what she's doing, and I think her business is really interesting. And she's got a very interesting story as well. So we're going to be hearing a bit more, Jen, about your story, where you've come from, what made you set up and do what you do, what it is that you do, and the kind of the thoughts and the mindset that you have around business and the way that you run it. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So so thank you for that lovely welcome, Jenni. Yeah, so as I said, I'm Jenni Bush, and I run a business called the Equine Business Assistant, and I am absolutely passionate about helping equestrian businesses to harness a bit of the power of the internet to actually make their businesses stable, because I think there's so many opportunities for businesses that we don't take because we're frightened of the tech, or it's not our area of expertise, and it's not a place that we've got a lot of gifts. Sometimes we're so gifted in the horses, but actually the other stuff comes quite hard. The marketing comes hard, the people stuff comes quite hard, the managing how to go through all that client pipeline and make sure that you're doing all that, it's hard. So that's where I step in, and I like to sort of come along, and I feel that I'm the person that will help to give you a leg up. That's where I like to position myself. I'm not one of these people who's going to come on board and tell you how to do it. We go, okay, this is how we're going to do it together, and on the count of 3, let's go, and I'm going to give you a leg up, right? So that's what I like to do, and sometimes it can be as simple as we have a chat and we work through how to make sure that your social media works better, or how to make sure your marketing's better, or to get your plan, like just to manage your day so that actually you're not exhausted. Because I suffered with chronic fatigue for over 10 years, so I know what it's like to feel that exhaustion. And because horses are there's a lot of physical exhaustion, then you've got the mental exhaustion because they're a heck of a worry. And then you've got the money and everything else, and you just end up absolutely crashing. So I try to help bring a bit of balance and harmony into business. That's what I do.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. I love the leg up idea. That's absolutely brilliant. We all need one of those sometimes, don't we? We all need a team around us that helps us with the bits that we're not so great at to make everything go forward as it is. And I certainly found when I set up, my business doesn't look anything like it did 7 years ago. It's completely different. And I know yours has evolved and changed over the years as well. But I certainly found out that, you have to suddenly be everything. Suddenly, and you have to do the thing you're good at, and then you have to tell people about the thing you're good at, and then you have to get them to join the thing that you want them to do that you're good at, and then you have to keep that going as well, and then you have to find ways of enabling them to do it, and then you have to find ways of creating the time in which to do it as well. Again, we're all trying to create this lifestyle business, aren't we, where we can have this lovely work-life balance and flexibility, but so often people set up a business with that in mind and it goes completely down the pan because they just work too hard. So you help to streamline that and make sure they are getting the lifestyle they want.
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm really, really passionate about doing that, and that's one of the reasons I do what I do, is because I always found that I had real jobs. When I had real jobs, I was ill, totally ill, because I just could not fit a real job around life and children, because I'm a mother, I've got family, house. I used to have like charity work that I was doing, a lot of my time was going into that. And then I'd be working all night because I'd have all this other stuff to do for this charity that I was working with, and then there'd be all this and I would be so exhausted because I just couldn't fit it all in, because I felt like I'd got all this stuff that I must do, when actually I didn't have to. And so it took a while to get my mindset around that. And and after I ended up in hospital several times because our bodies will tell us when enough is enough. I finally decided that I needed to follow what I felt that I was called to, and I've managed to bring that balance into my life so that I can be mum when I need to be mum. I can go and play horses when I want to play horses, and I can earn good living doing what I love. And so, yeah, if I can help other people and even just to inspire other people that it's possible, that's important to me.
Cool. I didn't know you had chronic fatigue as well. So did I. Same thing. So why is it that we have to get to the point, some of you might resonate a little bit with this, where your body actually starts giving up on you before you start to listen to it? So if you're kind of experiencing like symptoms of like being really tired or stressed, or, you know, it doesn't matter how much sleep you get, you're still tired, you're not feeling your best, it's just constant, you feel like you're on a treadmill. Listen to your body now. Because you don't want to end up where you and I ended up in, you know, just serious situations where actually things have started to break down on you, because it's one hell of a recovery journey from that, isn't it? You know, so having been in that, how what would your advice be to someone who's starting to go, actually, do you know what, I just get a feeling that things aren't right?
Yeah. My advice is to, number one, find somebody that you can talk to about it that isn't like, this can sound really bad, it's not somebody in your family. It's not somebody in your family that loves you, because a lot of the time they want to fix it and they get frustrated and then they don't know and they'll just lose temper. So actually go and find somebody that understands this stuff and the mindset, because a lot of my fatigue, I believe, was caused by what I believed I had to do, or this sense of duty, or and actually once I was able to change what I thought and believed, I was then able to change how I behaved and look after myself better. And your body will show you difference. Like I had one of the first things that happened to me when I was like struggling with fatigue and things weren't going well, and my body was trying to tell me, Jenny, stop. I had my gallbladder rupture, and but all year I had tummy aches. I'd always had tummy aches. I've never thought anything of it. My stomach always hurt. It was normal. Well, surely everybody's stomach hurts. But apparently it's not. And I'd been sick. Like I remember going to teach lessons, and I'd get through the lesson and I'd be on a chair because I'd be like, I'm so rough. I'd teach this lesson and then I'd go, I've got to go home. I'm sorry, I can't do any more. And I'd go home and I'd be so ill, like physically sick. And I went through the year just thinking, oh, I've done really well because nobody else has caught whatever it is I've got a bug. Until like one Friday night, and I was like, oh my gosh, this pain is terrible. And my husband said to me, I'll call an ambulance. I'm like, no, it's not that bad. And the nurse came out and she said, do you get indigestion? Yeah, it's definitely indigestion. Yeah, it's indigestion. Well, after a weekend of being in absolute agony, I finally went to work and said to my boss, I'm not very well. I think I need to go and see my doctor. So I went to the doctor, left my computer, left everything, went off to the doctor, and the doctor went, you're going to hospital now. And I was like, but I've left my computer on. I can't. I'm at work. I can't go to the hospital. And he's like, you go to the hospital. And that was me off for 10 weeks, I think. I ended up having off because it set off. With my chronic fatigue, I used to get maldebarkment syndrome, which made me feel like I was on a boat. Oh, it's horrendous. And that was all because I wasn't listening to my body. I was overdoing it because I would rather not let people down than listen to my body and say, do you know what, I'm doing too much.
And that's that sort of, isn't it, of self-care, that you've got to look after yourself, because if you don't look after yourself, you're never going to be there for anyone else. So you can't just look after other people. And a lot of people that get chronic fatigue, ME, fibromyalgia, all those kind of chronic illnesses like that don't have any sort of real obvious cause. It's because actually a lot of the time you are giving and forgetting to actually take what you need. Yeah. So, yeah.
And even when I think, especially if we're looking to start businesses and everything, we're very tempted to do this sort of side hustle around everything else and cut off our sleep and cut off our food and to use that time to do it. And actually, it's the worst thing possibly we can do to ourselves. And that's one of the things I say to people. No, we find time other ways. We do not ever lose our sleep, and we never stop eating well, because if we don't do those, and we don't stop moving, if we don't do those basics, we're going to end up with a really, really bad life.
Okay, so you turned it around, and clearly you're, I don't know if we ever really call it recovered, but you're okay now, like you get an occasional bit, I'm sure, but
yeah, actually I live a pretty normal life now compared to when I couldn't get out of bed for weeks. And I still have moments. I still do have moments when I relapse and I'll end up having to work in bed. And anybody that knows me, you know that I'll still work in bed and I'll still come live in bed. But again, a lot of what I'll do is I'll share what's happened and why it's happened and what I need to do. And I think it's about learning those lessons. And while I believe that some people, it's not all in their head, and I don't believe it is all in your head, but I think everything's connected. Everything in our bodies is connected. Everything in our lives is connected. And so it's about being able to step back and look at that whole picture and go, okay, now I know why that is. And yeah, cool. Sometimes it's to do with what we think and believe, and sometimes it's to do with how we put pressure on our bodies that we shouldn't.
Absolutely, yeah. It's always dare I say the word holistic, but it is. It's always the holistic mix, isn't it? And it's the same. We know this with our horses, don't we? We all know this. We look after our horses' bodies. We look after their minds by trying to do varied things with them. We check on their diets. We get them physio. We do everything we possibly can with them. And then, there's us crocked walking around like eating chocolate bars and, running on Red Bull and all that kind of stuff.
Giving your horse the best mix possible before you go to a show while you're eating cheesy chips. It's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah. And getting up early and skipping on we're so good at putting ourselves last in the mix when we need to be putting ourselves first.
Cool. Okay, so tell me a little bit. So that's a little bit of your backstory as to why you set up what you did. So tell me a little bit about the ethos behind. So you're saying it's about giving people a leg up, but what's the real ethos behind what you do?
Yeah, what really drives me, I think, is because I've always been passionate about like horses. I'm not from a horsey family. I wasn't born, I'm not one of these people that was born into it. I had to really work my way into the equine world. But I've always believed that there is something magical and special about using horses, like working with horses, being around horses. And that one of the myths that people will often say is there's no money in horses, you can't work in horses, or they've got this vision that it's like this tiny little industry of just like riding schools or something, and it's not. So one of the things that I like to do is come on board and actually show people that there are ways that we can make money. There is always a way to make money doing what you love. It just sometimes needs different people that can believe in it, and help you to put those things in place, and I've got so many sort of different strings to my bow, but there is nothing worse than seeing people's dreams go down the pan purely because they didn't know how, and they didn't have a team that supported them. And I think it's especially with equestrian businesses, not many people get it. Not many people get it at all. And so I just want to be somebody that people can turn to that does get it, that does know how these things work, and can give them the ideas when they haven't got any, or can get them out of that little sort of funk when it's all going all wrong and they just want to cry and need that support. And I've had businesses that failed, and I had to learn a lot of hard lessons. But in learning that, I can help people to make sure that they don't go through that as well. And I just really want to make sure that people get the business they dream. I think if you've been given that dream of running a business with horses, you've got to be able. It's there for a reason. So
that's so true. I think you and I are so similar, Jenny. I had no idea about this. So I'm the same. Came from a non-horsey family, was told my entire life there's no money in horses, you need to get a proper job and all that jazz. Got a proper job, nearly died, and went, do you know what, I think I'll do the horse thing, thanks. To which point my parents went, well, I'm not entirely sure what we tell people now, because telling them you're a global consultant is, that makes sense to people. We know what you do, but playing with horses, I said, I don't play with horses. That's not what I do. But, that one of the biggest things I had to get over was what my parents thought, funnily enough. What are other people going to say? Oh, she hasn't got a proper job. She's giving it all up to play with horses.
Yeah, and that was one of the things, like with my first business, I used to make bridal jewelry, and my mum would be forever going, oh, you can't get a proper job. And I was always bullied into going to get a job, which made me ill. It did, and it made my chronic fatigue worse. It made my mounted department worse, because we are given gifts and skills and talents for a reason, and we should use them, not because of what anybody else. And bless my mum loves me and she wants to keep me safe, and for her those stable jobs are what was her way of helping. But for me, it didn't help. And I don't think I think the society that we're in, particularly now, there is no such thing as a stable job ever anywhere. Like, I went to work for a school, they made me redundant after a year. We don't have the stability that people had in jobs years ago. So actually, if we can have that flexibility and the ability to believe that we can make money doing different things, it doesn't matter what happens in life. And one of the things that I'm particularly now, and I said, well, it's just business. You build it from nothing. Do you know, nobody can take what's here and your gifts away from you. So yeah, we don't need to panic when we're in these recession periods, because actually, who knows what it's going to open up.
And it does, doesn't it? Entrepreneurs are hugely resourceful, very good at coming up with solutions to problems. That's why they generally start. And so when we end up in recessions and things like this, because we have the flexibility and the freedom, and because generally we're little businesses, so we can pivot and change really quite quickly and easily if we need to. We just do. Because we have to make that money appear in the account. When we need to make the money, we get even more resourceful. We put us under pressure and we'll come up with things we never thought we would. And it's really nice working with people like that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And to be able to go, and like I do like lots of strategy sessions with people, and they'll talk to me about where they're at, and we'll come up with an idea, and you can just see it sort of suddenly grow, and they say, oh, actually I can do this. Do you know what I mean? Whereas before, there's so many blocks that get in our way where we think, oh no, I don't know how. And so one of the things that I like to do is be able to find those solutions for people, and just then to see them to go and take off and to find different ways to pay their bills when they need to. And I think, sometimes the way that we've been brought up and things have been structured in life in general, it puts us in that position where we don't know. and you just like, I don't.
Yeah, and I think our schooling system a little bit as well isn't about asking the right questions, is it? It's about getting the right answers. So, we don't get taught it's the questions that you ask yourself that give you the resources that you need. We get taught, give us the right answer on that bit of paper, thanks. Tell us what it is that we've told you. Great, thanks for that.
Learn this, revive this, and this is the answer. And then when you actually have to find a solution, you can't, because you don't know how, or you don't believe you can. And that's a big thing. And it's about asking how can I rather than I can't. So I think there's a lot of things that sort of come from schooling. Like even when I set up my planner, and I said one of the reasons that I always struggled to plan was because in school lessons we had to be neat and we had to be inside the lines, and if you went wrong, and so life is messy. Do you know what I mean? Life is messy, and that then put me off ever planning, and I could never plan. And then I thought I was bad at planning, and I wasn't bad at planning at all. I just can't write very neatly. But it was due to little things that happened in childhood that can often just spoil things in silly ways. We just have to rethink things.
Cool. Okay, so tell me what your favourite bit is that you do in your business, because I know you do lots of different things. What's your favourite thing to do?
My absolute favourite thing is I love doing like my strategy sessions, where we it depends, like a lot of the time they're very organic. They don't follow a sort of strict plan, because people come to me and they'll be like, okay, Jenny, I want to be able to do this in my business, or I'm struggling with this, or I don't know what the next step is. And so we'll brainstorm ideas, we'll come up with a strategy, and they normally takes up between an hour and 90 minutes. And again, just to see the cogs start to work in people, and they start to go, I know how to do this now. And then to sit back and watch them do it, I just absolutely love. It's one of the hard things for me though, is like it's never my result. So I'm always a little bit like, well, I didn't do the work, but I just loved. I just love to watch them go and do it. It's the same when you're sort of teaching somebody to ride and you're watching them ride. You don't do it, but there's a big sense of like, yes, they've done it, and I absolutely love that. And like when people send me a message and go, oh, this happened because you told me this, or you remember when you said this to me, this because you said that, it changed. And it's just like that one little cog in the big picture. But it makes such a difference. Like when somebody will message me and go, well, thanks to your strategy session, I actually was able to pay the bills this month, and I might not have been able to had we not had that. Or or when they say like in that hour that they learn so much that they've actually saved themselves 10 hours a week in it, because again, a lot of what I do is finding the easy way, finding the simple solution and getting the job done as best we can, because I believe in efficiency. And just seeing people being able to use those things in their businesses, and that's awesome. Love that.
And so what kind of businesses, because I know you work with all sorts of different people, don't you? What kind of businesses do you work with?
Yeah, I have lots of different businesses that I have worked with, from retail, like question tax shops, to you name it. I've had coaches, nutritionists, body workers, photographers, farmers. Because what I do applies, it will work in most businesses. I'm just really, really passionate about equestrian business, and I love to also use the lessons that I've learned from horses and translate that into business. And I think that really helps equestrians as well, to be able to go, now it clicks, because when you put it like that, they know horses. So using the horses, because it's just that's awesome. I've worked with so many different types of businesses all across the world.
And what's been your kind of your most favorite project or something, without necessarily mentioning who or what, but what do you think has been your biggest, like, wow, that's just amazing, I somehow helped you with that type of project moment? Yeah,
there's so many. I love every single even little wins, like even like today on our mastermind, one of the clients said, well, they had their best month ever last month, and they would say, and I just love to just know that I'm there supporting. Even it's not mine to take the credit, they've done the work, but just to know that I'm part of their team when they need me is pretty awesome. Trying to think, and just like when you know that I've helped set up subscription plans and schemes like that, and just knowing that we're helping to create a little bit more stability and consistency in the income, because again, with equestrian businesses, it's very seasonal. It can come and it can go as quickly depending on the weather, and to try and find people different ways of bringing in like a consistent income, so no matter what happens, they've always got something to fall back on. That's cool.
I like that. Okay, so your business has really evolved over the years, hasn't it? Tell us just a tiny bit about where it started and where it is now, because I love doing this. The reason I love asking people this is because of the comparison thing, right? And I do this with riders as well, which is people go, oh yeah, but their business is that size and I'll never be able to do that. And it's like, whoa, they started with their first sale, their first client, their first thing, just like everyone else did. There was a point when they weren't entirely sure that they would make money from this until someone actually gave it to them. And that first one is like unforgettable, isn't it? When you go, someone actually wants this, oh my word. Like, so tell us your business evolution.
So I started the business basically because I had left my job, because again I was struggling with my health and I couldn't fulfill my role. And after about 3 months of not working, my husband was just kind of like, Jenny, I really can't pay for everything forever. We had no money. And I had no money, and my debts were building up, and overdraft was and I just suddenly thought, fine, what do I know? I'm really good on a computer. I've done admin. I've worked as an admin for school and done school trips and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, I'll just go and become a VA. So I started off as a virtual assistant, and I went out there trying to serve everybody like you do. Well, I just work with anybody. I just need the money, and after about 2 months, I had no clients. And then I sat down and I remember thinking, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? I don't actually like this very much. And something inside me went, for goodness sake, Jenny, you know horses. You know business. What are you doing? So I then said, okay, I'll do the next little tweak. I'll just go for equestrian business, like equestrian virtual assistant. And I knew from what I'd learned in my previous business, like how to start attracting people and what I needed to do. Which I don't know why I didn't do for the other one, but I did. I finally thought, do you know what, Jenny, why are you pretending you don't know how to do this stuff? So I went out there and I put a couple of messages out on Facebook, like that day. And I got a client that day. And then I remember going, oh shit. If I can say that. Excuse me. I don't swear very often, but it was very much like that. And I just remember thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? I don't know how am I going to, yeah. And so the first thing I actually did was I got a coach. I didn't have any money, but I knew I'd got so many mindset issues, particularly from my previous business failing, particularly from my fears of not feeling good enough. I've got lots of issues around money because I spent 20 years running a charity and not earning any money because I didn't want to earn any money, and that I was in it for the joy, and that was my payment. And yeah, unfortunately, that actually doesn't feed me. So I spent money before I made it, and I agreed to have this coach, and I only had a couple of sessions because I didn't have any money. I had like one session, but it was enough to just stop moving things. And then so I started off as a virtual assistant. I got a couple of virtual assistant clients, and I was doing, the more I did the work, the more I decided I really didn't love it. And actually I had so much more experience, and so I was gifted in so many more areas than just managing the diary and replying to emails and doing all that stuff. And so it soon evolved to sharing a bit of my expertise on marketing and what I've learned about emails and blog posts and my copywriting and stuff. And then I started to get, and I set up the Equine Business Support Network literally like, as soon as I set up that the virtual assistant stuff. And so that was growing. And then people kept asking me, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? How do you do that? And for a long time, I sort of did that, and I gave away a lot for free. And for a long time, I really struggled with who I was at that stage, because I knew I wasn't a virtual assistant. But I didn't know how to change that. And I knew I wanted to be a business coach and a business mentor, but I didn't believe I was good enough. And so it's taken a long journey sort of from there. So it's like, I think it's 3 years I've been running now. And from that stage to where I'm at now, and actually standing in my own skin and stop dancing around who it is that I actually am and who I want to be, and showing up fully as the Equine Business Assistant, to actually step in and help you when you need it. And one of the things that that comes when people go, I don't know how to do that, I do. So like, while I don't, I'll often step in and I'll teach people how to do it, because I don't believe in linchpins in business. I don't want to be anybody's linchpin. I want to help them to be empowered to do everything that they need to do in their business, to be able to help them to get the right people in. Since I have decided that, you know what, that's it, no more pretending who I am, no more hiding behind who I am, and actually embracing what I can give to the equine industry. Life is just so much better, I think. And I think we can all do that in our businesses, because sometimes it's all we forget about our own needs again, and I think not being good enough is a big thing.
Yeah, that comparison thing, and comparing yourself to others and looking at people that are different to you, and also the competition thing. So I know Jane Brindley is part of your, I don't know if she's part of a group or anything, but I know I've seen her in the equine support group, and she's Horse Rider Confidence Scotland. And so that, I used to think years ago, that's direct competition to what I do. Oh no, I can't collaborate with any people that do what I do. And yet, actually, we've just done a really nice collaboration together, because, when you get comfortable with who you are and what you do, and you get confident that you do it well, and that there's enough business out there, and there's plenty of people, and you're all doing it your different ways. When you get to that stage, you can do this in your riding as well. When you get to the point where you just go, do you know what? I just am what I am. Like, if I happen to be the best on that day, bonus. If not, I've got some things to learn. It's lovely, isn't it? When you really come into your power and you're serving other people from a place of just trusting yourself and knowing who you are. It's mega, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite, and it's a journey. It's such a journey to get there, and I think a lot of the time people get frustrated because they're not there, and you just have to believe that one day you will be, and just keep moving forward. And yeah, and a lot of the time you do, as I said to people, put some blinkers on, stop looking sideways. It's not about everybody like this at you. It's about your path, your journey, your map. And actually a lot of the competitors, we all have to, we're not really that, we're very very similar, and we've all got different gifts. Do you know what I mean? And some of us, our gifts are different, even though we do the same thing. Like some people are better at social media, and some people are better at copywriting, and some people are better at the business coaching, and some people are before, and I said, I've got lots of coaches, and it's one of those things that I think, well, actually, and they could all go, oh, I have coaches for different things, but they're all technically business coaches, and they could all go, oh, we're all in competition. But actually, I'm with her because she's really good at that side, and I'm with her because she's really good at that side, and I think we've got to not be so frightened. And it's one of those things that I think it's quite about the flower. A flower doesn't worry about the flowers blooming next to it, just stands up and blooms. And I think we all have to do our own bit of that sometimes, and just think, no, this is me, and I have to say, people don't always relate to other, like they need to hear it from you. Everybody needs a different person, some people say it differently.
Yeah, definitely. And you're going to resonate with the people you resonate with, aren't you? And if they're not your people, that's okay, because there's plenty of your people out there. No matter how weird and wacky you are, there's plenty of your people out there. Yeah. And the phrase that I love, that the flower one is gorgeous. I love that. And the other one is that all ships rise on a rising tide. So do you know what? If we're all helping each other to create amazing equine businesses and promote the equine industry and bring money into the industry, it all goes around and helps each other out, doesn't it? So we're all helping each other.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's one of the things, like with money, I keep saying, no, you actually have to spend it. You actually have to, the more you push it out, the more it circulates, the more we get. It's not. But we often don't understand these things, or we've got these strange beliefs and hang-ups over them. And it's all about just being there and supporting each other, and coming on board, and collaborating, and stop worrying.
Yeah, just stop worrying. Just get on with it, people. Just do it.
Yeah. Stop worrying what anybody else thinks, what anybody else says. Stop worrying if anybody's going to turn around and steal things. Because I think the more you focus on, that's where it goes. That's what happens if that's what you focus on it. But life is too short.
Just do your thing, put it out there, and let people grab it if that's what they want. Yeah. It could be construed many ways, that particular sentence. We know what we mean. Okay, so what is the future about for you then, do you think? Where is the business? I mean, not we ever know where it's going to evolve to, but we've quite often got a bit of an idea of where we'd like it to go. So what's the next phase for you, do you think?
Yeah, so for me, I'm just on a mission to help as many equestrian businesses as possible worldwide. So I'm trying to do that with my group program. So I've got my Nail It Mastermind, which helps people, we meet every week, and there's access to my own courses on how to do some of the marketing stuff, how to set up your email list, how to do that. And then for me personally, it's just about following my journey, what's next, how can I add more value into what I do, how can I I might be going and doing some more NLP training, or I might be going and doing some more I'm just forever looking at more business stuff, more marketing stuff. I just love it, absolutely. So I feed in on all of that, what's happening lately, and then I go back to my group and I say, do you know what, don't listen to that. That's going to waste your time. But because sometimes the next shiny object, it's so easy, especially as business owners, is to go along and go, oh no, I need to go and do that now, and I need to try and have that, and it's all this stuff, and I've got to be on all these places. And actually I come in and go, no, you don't. Let's work out what's best for you. We're going to focus on that. And that then helps them to move forward. Whereas so I go away and I learn all that stuff, and I spend my time learning all that stuff so that nobody else has to. And we just focus on actually where your people are now and what you need to be doing.
One of the phrases I love, which you've just said there, completely demonstrated, which is you've only got to be 2 steps ahead of someone else to help them out. You know, none of us ever know everything. None of us is as clever as all of us. And as long as you're a couple of steps ahead of someone, you can help them to get where you're going. If you're loads of steps ahead, then great. But if you're too many steps ahead, then actually there's too much distance.
Yeah.
So the more you can learn and help others, then just keep learning, because you'll always be a couple of steps ahead of someone and able to help them somehow.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things that I think we learn with the horses anyway, because we never stop learning. Every new horse will bring a new challenge, you know what I mean? And it's the same, yeah, with business. We moved up to the next level, and then there's another challenge, and then we move up to the next level, and there's another challenge. So again, I try and look at this, like I often compare what I teach in my business stuff to like the scales of training. So I'm like, no, stop trying to focus on that. Actually, we need to get your rhythm first. You know what I mean? So say we go into rhythm. Don't move on to the connection until you've got your rhythm. Don't start on straightness. Don't get the rhythm. And so I often help people to actually stick in like where they need to be focused, and that's what I'm looking to actually build. It's my latest. I'm in the process of getting it done. Is like a quiz to work out where they're actually at and where they need to be focusing in their business. Because it's so there is so many aspects. Like we all know, we've got so many aspects to do. Like as you said before, there's all those hats. I often call it like your different hats. You've got your marketing hat, you've got your sales hat, you've actually got your work hat where you actually do the bit that you love, and then you've got to go and do the people, and that's the hard hat. And so I just help people to find like streamlined ways in doing that. And also to go, no, don't actually focus on that for now. Look at the bigger picture. Actually, you need to be looking at getting the sales in and stuff like that, rather than just thinking they've got to do all the things at once.
For years that was me. I was stuck in overwhelm, and you know when you're so overwhelmed that you just do nothing and you just freeze in overwhelm and the daily grind, and that's when you end up having problems. And there was definitely a do or die, shit or bust moment in my business about 4 years ago, I think now. And do you know what I did? I got a coach. Yeah. You know, that's what you got to do. Sadly, people are, well, not sadly, but you know, so many people are like, I can't afford it, or no, I'll just sort it out for myself. But that fresh pair of eyes, gosh, it makes a difference.
You can't not afford it. I mean, if I hadn't have had, I mean, I can't tell you the amount of money I've spent is crazy, but had I have not had those people at that point, I just wouldn't be where I am at all. I'd still be going on the same old treadmill and probably work myself into the ground. Because it just, and I think we all need that support. We all need that coach. Same as if you want to bring on your riding, you can ride on your own, but actually you're not going to make the progress you want or you need if you haven't. And again, it's about finding the right coach, and that's what I often talk like, because there's so many people that are burnt by the wrong coaches, and there's so many things that you need to find one that's actually going to know how to take you to where you want to go. Same as if you wanted to learn to go and do Western riding, you wouldn't be getting a horse racing trainer. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to be able to sort of know who you need to pick and why you pick them.
So if you're in a situation in your business where you know you want to be doing more, maybe you're struggling at the moment, maybe you're not struggling, but you just daily grind is not really fulfilling you, you've got that sort of sense of, how do you work out what kind of coach you need then?
How do you work out what kind of coach you need? Well, I guess you go and look for some and start listening to what they put out there. You know, most good coaches will have various different ways that you can start to connect and to get a taste of what they're at. So you can find their groups, you can find their blog posts, you can find their videos, their podcasts, and you'll soon start to see whether actually they start to make sense to you. Because it's the same with instructors. A lot of instructors have different ways of saying things, and they're all saying the same thing technically, but you might not get that person's language, or they're not resonating with you. So I think it's about finding that, and then go and ask and look at what people say, look at what works for you. And there are so many that can help in different ways, but I think your gut tells you which one really, I think there's a few that I've sort of started to work with, and then I've gone, I knew from the first point that actually you weren't going to be the right person, especially when they sort of turn around and they tell you that you shouldn't be doing what you do, and because there's no money in what you do and you should be doing something else totally, and you're like, no, that's not where my heart is. And And so I think it's about finding the right people that can help. And so we've all got sort of different gifts and things.
So
and sorry,
carry on.
does that answer the question? I think it just depends on where you're at, because a lot of business, actually, the easy stuff is the business. The easy stuff is the business bit, and the hard stuff is getting over what's in your head, and it's having people that help you to change your thoughts and how you think about things that makes the biggest difference, I think.
Okay, so changing the topic just for a few minutes before we finish, what would you say are some top tools that people need to be thinking about to help improve their business or increase their business or do something differently? So let's take, for instance, a riding instructor that goes out to teach people or something like that. How can they stop doing the time for money thing and working themselves into the ground in all weathers?
Yeah, so it depends on the instructor as to what they do. But I would certainly be looking at how they can, maybe like you do, like the horsey courses, bring something online a little bit so that they can get a little bit more of an income. Maybe even think about having clubs, like where they've got a specific members and they pay a certain amount a month and they get priority bookings, might help. And other ways that they can, just trying to see, like, it depends on how they're actually running, whether they're freelance or in their area or whatever, but I would probably be looking at just ways that they can show up a bit more without and get themselves positioned better, because again, if we can get the right people, we can charge the right amount of money, and then we don't feel like we're having to go around everywhere and stand in a freezing cold field for 20 quid an hour and wonder why we're even and get home totally shattered, tired, wet, cold. But actually, if you can find where you're gifted as an instructor and you can really niche that, you can probably get what you're worth. If that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I mean, I knew I chucked that one at you, but it was just an example that, I certainly come across it an awful lot. And the whole one-to-one is fabulous. It's wonderful working one-to-one with people. But the problem with one-to-one is there's only one way of making a decent living, and that's to charge more or to do more hours. And there comes a certain point where you can charge more, but you're not going to be able to do it just by putting your prices up. You've got to position yourself as the real expert in order to do that, haven't you? So there's all this stuff you've got to be able to do to work one to many, like you said. So that's the online things, isn't it? And that's the clubs, and that's the clinics. And I don't mean the clinics of 16 people in one day clinics. I mean like you doing something once that lots of people experience, isn't it? And it's so you help people to look at that and leverage their real knowledge to make more out of it.
And actually where the bits in their business that light them up. Shall we, like some people, they're an instructor, but actually they might prefer to teach kids. So let's go with that. Do you know what I mean? Or let's stop trying to teach everybody. Or they might be really, really brilliant at what they do, but actually they need to be teaching people to event, and they can really focus in and find those people, because again, when you're more valuable to somebody, they'll pay for it, and they'll pay what you deserve. And there's lots of ways that you can serve them, and a lot of the time people are like, I've got to do a one-to-one stage management lesson. Well, no, you can teach that stuff online, and you can get people doing that. And even then, when somebody says, but if somebody else has already done that, actually, one, that's great, because that means that people buy it, and two, we need repetition. Like, I know we spoke about this in our network matter, but you need that repetition, and sometimes you need to hear it from a couple of different people for it to sink in. And I know when I was sort of studying for my stages, I was desperate to find people to learn off online, because I couldn't get to where I live. There isn't, like, I have to travel miles to get to a BHS instructor. Like, I'd have to travel absolutely miles and miles. And if I could study at home, I was going to, but could I find anybody to teach me what I needed to know? And we sort of joked about that. Yeah, I failed on my strapping, and I couldn't find anybody that could teach me how to strap. There was nothing online. There was nothing, and if there'd have been somebody out there going, I'm going to specialise in stage 2 or stage 3, or I'd have been there online.
So on that note, actually, it's interesting, the strapping one. So if you go on YouTube now, you can find all sorts of videos and things for free, can't you? And yet we're saying to people, create courses, put them online, people will pay you for them, they pay for your knowledge and expertise. And one of the things that we come across is people say, well, how do I do that when there's already people putting stuff online? So for free, what's your thoughts on that then?
My thoughts on that is that that's totally where my name comes in. They're beating around the bush, darling. Don't make it easy for them. You know, people don't want to. It takes time to go away, and they could